Good morning, Rogers High School. Welcome to Coach's Corner. This week we are going to continue on with our discussion about race and how we can make it less difficult to talk about and make a better environment, or create a better environment for our students, student athletes, community members, teachers. I've got Connie Richardson, campus security, with us again this week. And then we've got Willie London, who is an anatomy physiology teacher and PHS golf coach. So I'm here with an ER basketball coach and a PHS basketball or golf coach. So it's it's tough times here, but it's a good day. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. We are going to try to break down some of the barriers. Everything I read, everything I see, talks about getting to know your fellow man, right? And that in itself will hopefully improve relations in our community. So today we're gonna share some stories. We're gonna learn about Mr. London. We're gonna learn about Connie, and hopefully get rid of some of this bias that we have moving forward. So we'll start with Mr. London.
Good morning.
Morning. So Willie, you are not from the Northwest.
I am not.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you tell us that tale? Where does Mr. London hail from?
I am from a very small town in Louisiana. It's called Clinton, Louisiana. And if you ever drove through Louisiana, you'd never hit this little town where I'm from. It is it's very different growing up there in Clinton, Louisiana. A little history on Clinton. Clinton was the actual battle site of a Civil War battle between the North and the South. Two separate battles. One, the South forced the North out, and another where the last battle where the North actually forced the Confederates out of there. But the town I'm from actually has a Civil War statue of one of the soldiers residing in front of the courthouse to this day, that has no plans of removing that statue. So that's where I reside. Race is very prevalent my entire life growing there. My name, most people see my name, Willie London, like, oh wow, that's a pretty neat last name. How'd you get that name? And so I get the last name London because my family was given that name by their slave owners. So that's how I get the last name London. My grandma was Native American and Black, and my grandpa was, African American. His mom and dad were both slaves. So growing up in Louisiana, we had that heritage of deep-rooted Black and white issues that still preside. So my entire life, I only grew up around 100% Black people. I went to a school my entire life with 100% Black people. So we never had any interactions with the white person until I went off to college. So we was taught growing up that if you saw a white person, you just didn't interact much with them because we didn't trust them. You can imagine growing up with your great-grandparents being slaves, it's instilled in you what could possibly happen. That's just the mentality. Of course, is reality? Probably not, but that's just when it's embedded in you, that's what you grow up with. And so we grew up with this distrust of white people. And so I really didn't know the difference until I, graduated high school, went off to college, where I met some of the nicest white people you could ever meet. Until this day, it's, I've never, had that encounter of anyone that's overtly racist out to my face, but there are a lot of subtle racism that happens, all the time, growing up down south. I remember playing basketball games. My entire school was 100% Black. So we play high schools that were 100% white. And so I remember the experience of being called names and just derogatory remarks made to us playing these schools. So it's just something that you kind of get used to. And then when I got away from there, things started to change a little. And then I joined the service after college, and things really changed. 'Cause I was able to be stationed in Washington State up here, and it's such a difference living in Washington than it is Louisiana. I tell my wife now, you couldn't find any different places. People up here are open-minded. Black and white seem to get along with ease. Like there's, no big deal. But I can take a plane down to Louisiana, and you get off the plane and you can go back to my hometown, and there's still, to this day, the black school and the white school, and they're only 2 blocks away. Neither have crossed paths. A white kid I think they have had one white student go there, but I don't think the white school has had one black student to go to that school to this day. And so that's how it is down south. So I wish I'd love to see something like that change. It's going to take time. It has to take people being able to have open conversations and talking about it, because we're all the same. And, I just want everyone to realize that there is still racism out there. It still happens. Me being a black man, I can't change the color of my skin, so I wish that we all could see that, just take a second when something happens to say, let me look at it through that person's eyes, instead of saying, well, I'm on this side and it has to be this side or no side. And I just wish that people would take the time to say, let me see what the other side sees. Because it makes me sad when people do that.
Yeah, I mean, just hearing that alone, that is wild. Just that the 2 different schools still exist, because we, even as a history teacher, we teach that segregation ended, right? And that schools were integrated, and life changed in the 60s and moved on. Yeah, there was some struggle, but I mean, when were you in high school?
I was in high school in the 80s, and I just remember it is not just the point that we went to an all black school and there was a white school just down the street. Is I didn't know at the time the disparity in the education that is being received. I learned at an early age that the loud kids got the attention, and I was kind of a shy kid. I like to keep to myself. So I didn't really receive a lot of attention because I was the quiet one. And I remember 4.0 student, graduated high school, top of my class, no big deal. Went on to college, was doing great in college, made the dean's list a couple times, no big deal. And it wasn't until I met my wife and we were writing and stuff, and she goes, wow, your writing is bad. Not penmanship writing, like being able to put sentences together on paper. I was so bad at it and I told her I'm a product of the school system. Like, the teachers never paid attention to the kids unless you were the noisy one. And so I had to relearn how to write, like put together sentences on paper, because I didn't have that ability and I went through high school and college not being able to write. I could not write an essay to save my life. So I kind of understand how kids can progress, because I always used to say it was the empty, the kids who made the most noise who got all the attention from the teachers.
Yeah, it's such it's crazy listening to the story and how it's because I've been in Puyallup my entire life. I'm a product of the Puyallup School District, and so I didn't. The diversity has grown over the time being here, but I don't get to see that, and I didn't get to experience anything in that realm. So thank you for sharing. It's you look at what's going on in the world in the news, and there's a good chance that statue might come down here in the near future. You see that folks are kind of fed up. They take the Confederate flag out of NASCAR, and people are ripping down statues all over the South right now, whether it's from Columbus or the Civil War monuments. I hope the change continues, and I hope those loud kids are making things happen. So
they are. I try to stay up to date with it, and they filed motions to have that statue removed, but the federal judge actually blocked it from being taken down. So it has to go to the Louisiana Supreme Court to have that statue removed.
And Connie, you grew up in New York. We discussed a little bit last week.
Yes, I grew up in White Plains, New York. I grew up in a projects. My projects was filled probably 95% Black, probably a few white families, a few Latino families, Puerto Rican families, let's get that correct. And then up the hill was all the white kids. And I went to school with white kids from kindergarten on, and I'm going to try to find this picture and send it to you. So at school, it was all half and half. Our schools in White Plains is one high school town or one junior high and elementary town for the most part. Then you just mixed in all to the high school where it was all blended. So all my years of school was all blended from day one. So I've got along with white people, all people. I don't with all people until you show otherwise. But it's just, for me, it's just a different, I've dealt with racism with my own people, with Black people. I coached basketball at Lower Hearst Community Center for a long, long time. And we went to this one community center where I had an all-white coaching, an all-white team. And I got called Uncle Tom after we win. So it was a big riot outside. And I had a white assistant coach at the time with me, and it got pretty bad out there. But I've had it on both sides with police and white people. So it's all relevant at this time. So, but I'm currently happily married for 4 years come Friday. I want to throw that in there. My wife, Carrie, who works at Stall Junior High, I want to give her some props because she's still with me.
No, congratulations on that, by the way. It's a fun wedding. But both of you have unique and different experiences. But all three of us work together at Rogers High School, and our goal as educators is to make the world a better place, right? And hopefully teach somebody something along the way. What do you guys see as, through your experience and your time now at Rogers, what are some of the obstacles that are in our way, and how can we overcome?
I believe that one of the obstacles is it lies at home, because like we have the students, we can get them on campus and we can teach them what we want, but they don't have that maybe their parents, when they get home, their mom or dad are still working, or they don't have a one parent family. They can't go home and mom and dad can still help them with their education. Like some kids who are privileged can, they can get home and still continue that education. Some kids have to get home and may go to a job or get home and not have food to eat. So it's a big problem that I think we have to try to fix in order to help with that. Because you don't know someone's situation from what the appearance that you have. I remember going to school and there are times, you just didn't have, you went to school to eat, for those basic things. You didn't go to learn, you just went to school for those basic things. And some of our kids are like that. And I think if we take that mindset of, even though we don't know who it is, trying to reach out to everyone, if they need extra help them, being able to talk with them. Like some kids are comfortable with certain teachers, just being open to hearing those tough conversations about race or religion or either way. And like Connie was saying, racism exists both ways. Like, he was saying, being called an Uncle Tom. Like, there are times when I talk to my own family and they say, I'll hear the thing like, why you talk white? That we have to get over that. And so I think things like that, just being able to talk about it, it's going to help. Our education gap still exists. I know that not all kids are getting the same education, even though they can go to the same school. Just seeing the stats, just last week I did the PD, and I saw the stats of how many minorities took AP classes, and I was blown away. And I think that education gap exists in the education system from kids going to the same school. And I think we need to fix that, because it shouldn't be happening in 2020. There should be minority kids taking AP classes. Rebranding of certain education things will help, because if you tell a lot of kids, hey, this class is hard, and this class is easy, then what kid is going to say, I'm going to go take the hard class? You know, it's just that mindset that you have to break. If you say, well, all classes are challenging, that way when they see an AP class, they'll be more willing to take it. You know, I tell them when they sign up for anatomy, it's hard, but guess what? You're going to get through it. And I put my class, it's going to be challenging. And so I will put my class on par with AP classes. So if you get through mine, I'm going, you can get through these AP classes just the same. It's just changing that mindset, rebranding some of our classes, and understanding that we do have a gap, even of the kids going to the same school, then we'll be in a better position.
So I think I'm in a different kind of role because all kids come to me and talk to me about all kinds of problems. I think from if I was a teacher, if I had 100 whatever kids, you guys have 140, I think you have to get to know kids on a kind of an individual thing, but it's kind of hard in a teaching setting. But I think you have to learn your kids first before you can tell them what to do, basically. You'll have more success if you get to know them. Saying good morning to kids is probably important. Being in the hallways, our principal talks about it all the time. Principal Smith talks about that all the time. Just being in the hallways, just saying good morning to kids as they go, because you don't know where they came from. You don't know if they ate last night. You don't know if they had breakfast. You don't know if they got thrown out of the house or what the deal is with a kid. But if you get to know a kid, they'll come talk to you. No matter what race you are, they will come talk to you. So I've had great success with that. But that's one way, probably the best way. Just get to know your kids. So.
Yeah, building the relationship definitely goes a long way. Whether it's in just understanding who they are or getting them to challenge themselves in class and in their course load, whatever that may be. The one thing I'd like to do now, I mean, first I got to say thank you to both of you for being willing to share, and I hope it's not our last conversation, and I hope we can continue to build. And I know there's a couple of other staff members that have reached out and they want to share and they want to join the conversation and improve. So I think it's a great start for us. The idea that racism doesn't exist, that it's going away, it'll just fade away if we don't talk about it, is just in both of your guys' stories. You know that's not true. I mean, there's a completely different world a lot of us don't understand just down south in the United States of America. So it's pretty eye-opening to hear this. And then your coach, just it's impressive that you guys do what you do. And you're teaching me, you're teaching our kids, educating the community. So thank you very much. Right now, what I'm going to do is induct Principal Smith into our grit grid, the Ron Schurer grit grid. And I induct Smith with excitement and much respect, because he has provided us this platform to continue and have these conversations. He trusts in what we as staff members do and what we have to say and what we believe to be right. He pushes the idea that to love kids and teach. And if we have a plan to make that happen, or a plan to enrich our students' lives, he's willing to make that happen and allow us to do that. So thank you very much, Principal Smith, for what you do at Rogers High School and what you do in the community. And that is our induction for this week. To close out, I mean, we could keep talking, and like I said, I hope we do. But to close out, I just want to say thank you again, Willie, Connie. I appreciate you being willing to come on and share. And I know you got so much more knowledge and so much more to teach us. So I hope you continue to do that. Let's get some closing statements from each one of you guys, if you could.
First of all, thank you, Rambo, for letting me come on for the second week in a row. And I think Rogers, I'm just going to say this, Rogers is just a special place to me. And I work with great colleagues every day, from the office to teachers and everything. So I have the utmost respect for you guys.
So I'd like to just thank you for having this platform, because the more people talk about it, it helps. And like I say, the one thing I want people to take away is just try looking at it from another point of view. Because right now, I was saying, I don't want everyone to be tribal and just go into their corners. Try looking at everything that's happening through someone else's view, and I think that'll really help. And I really appreciate you giving me a chance to come on and share my story a little bit.
Oh, we got a special guest arriving.
On the track, like I once was a kid, all I had was a dream. More money, more problems. When I get it, I'ma pile it up. Now I'm dope on the bread, we can toast so fresh. How we flow, everybody get their style from us. Once was a kid with the other little kids. Now I'm ripping up shows and them fans going wild with us. Tell mommy I'm sorry, this life is a party. I'm never growing up.
Brandon Gibson.
What's up?
How we doing?
Where's your
2005
photo?
graduate of Rogers High School.
What's up? I'm just chilling, man. I appreciate it. Shout out to Rogers High School.
There we
Shout
go.
out to
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Look
Real
at
quick.
that gray. Look at that gray. Connie, you look good, baby. You look good.
Thank you, BD.
No problem. So you get your North Carolina on.
Yeah, baby. Still.
Man, as I've grown older, it's crazy. I've become more of a Duke fan, but I'm still like a Jordan fan at heart. So like, it's hard to root against either one.
Yeah. You want to break them into questions real quick?
Yeah, we'll get you going real quick. Brandon, this is Willie London. He's a anatomy physiology teacher at Rogers High School. And then we just he's from Louisiana. He just kind of shared a little bit of his life, and Connie did as well, from growing up in Louisiana or growing up in New York, and how things are slightly different now. You are a Puyallup man.
I'm a South Hill kid.
Yeah, and you've had the opportunity to kind of get out and see the world and then come back.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share your experience in the Puyallup School District?
Absolutely. So I was born in Germany. I was a military kid. Both my parents were over in Germany. Dad was serving in the Army. Mom followed him over there. So I came here when I was about 1 year old. Lived in the, kind of in the King County area for a couple of years. Finally settled in Seattle for like 4 or 5 years. Then moved to South Hill. And at about 7th, 8th grade, I was in Seattle, or I was in Puyallup like full time, and kind of just getting used to it. For me, my mom's kind of always taught me to treat everybody the same, and treat people how you want to be treated. So getting to Puyallup was different for me because I'm one of maybe like 9 African American kids or kids of color, I feel like. But at the same time, man, I was welcomed, expressionally in a good fashion. Just playing sports and getting along with everybody and kind of being intermingled in different groups. Puyallup had a lot to offer in terms of just the social aspect of getting to know different people from different backgrounds. Because, I could meet a kid who's similar to me, a military kid who moved out to Puyallup, and their parents are at McCord Air Force Base. So I've resonated with kids like that, adopted kids and different stuff. Like I've come from a vast majority of friendship groups just because of, kind of where I lived and where I grew up as a kid. So my experience in Puyallup was good. It was eye-opening for me, but it was also a good one because I got introduced to a different, type of lifestyle, kind of different from what I came from. And it was good. It was good. It's good to be uncomfortable. It's good to, find your way through certain challenges in life. And I just, I kind of just took it one day at a time and try to find my way.
So, we as you grow up and you move along, you have experiences, and Connie and Willie were willing to share, and you kind of discussed growing up in Puyallup. There's still obstacles, right? Racism still exists. Bias still exists. What do you believe from your life experience is the biggest obstacle in the way right now in making Puyallup, making Rogers? Because we can't solve the world's problems through Coach's Corner, but we can improve life for students in our community. What is the biggest obstacle with that?
Man, I honestly, I think it's forgiveness. I mean, you're going to experience some things in life that are not okay. They kind of mess with your inner core. And I mean, whether if it's someone calling you a name or anyone, someone making fun of your financial background or your clothes or whatnot, and how all that fits into it is some people are just ignorant, and there's nothing you can really do because that's just how they are and the environment they're in. But you got to be able to forgive those people. You also got to make sure that when you do forgive them, you don't hold any spite, because then now you're not allowing someone to grow. I think that's an important part of life is just forgiving and then allowing someone to grow and learn from their mistakes. Because, listen, racism's not going to go anywhere. I'm sorry. It's something that is rooted in the veins of this country, and it's we're not just going to get a fair opportunity at life. That's just kind of how it goes to some degree. But you can't hold that same grudge against everybody. You gotta make sure that the people you're around are good quality people. If they, if they're unaware or ignorant to a situation, then, try to help them through that and forgive them, and, just try to create more awareness in terms of putting people in your shoes, because not everyone comes from the same background.
Thank you. I mean, we try to teach our kids forgive, man, and forgiveness is a powerful thing, and it changes both people, right? The individual that may have offended, and then the person who is going through the forgiveness himself. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us. I know, Willie, you gotta get going, and I don't want to get you a late fee up in the hotel. But this is great. And Brandon, you being willing to come on, we talk to the kids daily, but you're in a unique position to where, as a professional athlete and now a coach at the college, people listen, and they want to, they see what you can do and see what you can, see how you can use your platform to change your community, change the world. So thank you once again for coming. Connie, thank you for getting us in touch and making it happen. And Willie, thank you for on this road trip, man. Like you're willing to stop, have your wife hang out for just a little bit while you get a Coach's Corner in. So
I appreciate it.
With that, we're gonna sign off.
Thanks, BD.
Thank you, Brandon, once again. Connie, Willie.